If you were to write a letter to your mom, would you like it if someone at the post office decided that the letter was too sensitive, or not sensitive enough, or didn't hold up to their personal values? So they change your letter. And then your mother gets a letter that's only part yours. It's not a whole letter from you, but it's also part some stranger from the post office. Or do you perhaps enjoy art? Now, I was able to go to the Louvre and it was amazing, just absolutely amazing. And I want to share a few pictures that I took with you, or that I took. Yeah, I'll share some pictures that I took and I'll share it here with you. And some of my favorite pieces of art were paintings of a room full of other paintings. That means the artist, um, they had to paint not just the room, but they painted miniature paintings of all the paintings in these rooms. It's quite mind blowing, really. Some of the paintings in the Louvre, they were bigger than the side of a house. They were just massive. What if someone took a piece of art and decided it was not in good taste? It was not what they like, and they think others won't like how it is either. So they decide that they're going to change it. Now we can hang it up on the wall. We've changed it to our tastes, but it's not the original piece of art from the artists themselves. But you know what? We'll still say that it's theirs. We'll still say that it's their piece of art, even though we've changed it now and it's not what they had created. That's what's happening with the Ian Fleming James Bond books. And I gotta say, it doesn't make sense to me that this is what's happening. Now, here's what does make some kind of a sense to me as a possible reason for something like this to happen. They're out there, there are demonstrators trying to destroy priceless art because they care more about a trending cause going on. And they care more about what's trending at the moment rather than preserving something that cannot be replaced. Ever. Ever. If they destroy it, it's gone. And all they did was destroy something created by someone that has nothing to do with what they are demonstrating against. It becomes a casualty of war, in a war that had nothing to do with them. The artists, they didn't start the war. They had nothing to do with it. They had nothing to do with this cause. But their art was destroyed because of it. So if we think about it, why would someone do this? Why would they do it? The answer is they don't care. They honestly don't care. They don't really care about the art at all. It's that they're just caring about whatever's this little trendy thing that they're trying to protest. Well, it made me start to think about this in the way Ian Fleming's books are being edited. Maybe they are making these edits and letting it become a big issue so as to draw attention to the literature and make people care more and want to see what all this ruckus is about. So maybe it's a ploy, perhaps, to boost some book sales. I'm not sure. Maybe, any publicity, even negative publicity about it, it's going to get some attention, draw in some new readers. I don't know. But, I've already seen a number of videos about this from a lot of the Bond community. And I was hoping to just add a couple more thoughts to it. I'm probably going to just kind of be expounding on some that have already been expressed, but maybe I'll make a few additions to it. Because for the most part, the people that are in an uproar about things like this, they don't care about the exact same thing um, when it applies to somebody who's alive or somebody they like. So, so here's what I was thinking about. There were those, they made such a big uproar about Taylor Swift not having control of her music and her creative license. Um, they were in a big uproar about that. Oh, she should be able to control her own music and her own product that she created. Well, it's the same thing for Ian Fleming in his stories, but they're being silent about this happening to authors, those who have already died, perhaps. Now, I can see maybe a warning on a book, indicating that it may have some material that could be offensive. I mean, after all, we've had that on CDs for years. We're used to seeing some kind of advisory on things, and then we just make our own minds up from there. And it's been touched on this as well. But who are they doing this for? Who are they editing these books for? The audience that they're protecting would most likely not be reading these books anyway. So that's why I'm thinking, well, this is like a little step further in this line of reasoning about who they're trying to do this for. You know, I have seen that this newer generation today very seldom reads older literature for entertainment. Now, I've seen some videos out there that kind of where they've interviewed someone of a younger generation and saying, "Oh, what's the last book that you read?" And um, some of them were just like, "Oh, I haven't even read a book since I got out of high school." When they would make us read. I don't read for fun for myself. There's a number of those, but those who are reading, and that there's a ton of videos out there. In fact, if you just do a search for book reviews and you get like somebody from a younger audience doing a book review, most of the books that they're reviewing and reading are newer books that are of interest to this younger generation. I don't even know most of those books. Like when they're showing this book, oh, here's all the books I read this month, and they start showing all these books. I don't recognize any of them. I mean, unless they've been turned into a movie or something recently. Um, I don't recognize these new artists, or I should say, new authors. Because to be honest, I've been going back and I'm collecting and trying to catch up on a bunch of the old books from my older days, stuff that I enjoyed when from my generation, and that's why I started looking for the Ian Fleming books, um, just other books I was collecting, uh, and that. So I don't have time for the current stuff. I've kind of got this huge backlog of stuff from from back in my day still. So it just may be that the only way to steer a younger audience towards the Bond books is to make them controversial somehow. Because this generation definitely likes controversy. Just the audiences are just spurred on by controversy. So make the Bond books controversial. That makes them current. Maybe it'll draw in some more interest. But I do have to say this. If this kind of editing is allowed, I really feel like it honestly puts us one step closer to like Fahrenheit 451, the book, Fahrenheit 451, as a reality. I mean, look, watch this. I mean, this is from the movie Fahrenheit 451, but I mean, look at this. I mean, this could happen if this were to continue.
Montag. I knew it. I knew it. Look, these are all novels. All about people that never existed. The people that read them and makes them unhappy with their own lives, makes them want to live in other ways that can never really be. See, it's no good, Montag. We've all got to be alike. The only way to be happy is for everyone to be made equal. So, we must burn the books, Montag.
Having someone let us know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable to read, etc., it puts us in line for things like this, for Fahrenheit 451. Not just what's acceptable, but literature itself could be decided, no, no, it needs to go away. So I read Live and Let Die recently, and I will say there are some terms in there of race, terms I have never used. It's just, there's a lot of language out there right now. I've never used some of these words ever in my life. Never been tempted to, because it's just, they were never in my vocabulary. Sometimes, something comes to mind and, things spurt out of people's mouths, and that it was in their vocabulary somewhere at some time. I've never had it in my vocabulary. Uh, I grew up in a pretty big community of um, of different races and different cultures and things like that. So I've had this huge community um, of equals out there. Um, but I will say this. So in the book, there's definitely some terms of race. And in fact, there's one part in the book when M is briefing Bond and talking about Mr. Big. He's the main bad guy. And he's talking about the community of Mr. Big, the racial community that he belongs to and that he is getting support from. And M, he starts to talk about the populace of that community and how the population is growing and expanding. And he's speaking in it as if this is like a matter of interest back then, because the certain number of this race is growing, and soon it's going to be this many compared to this many of other races and things like that. And I got to tell you, as I got to that part, I was like, wow, was that really a matter of interest or concern back then? The population of certain races compared to whatever race he was. That I found that fascinating, and I thought to myself, you know, that's a bit of insight into history. That was like some insight into how some people back then may have been thinking and feeling, like hidden concerns. Maybe they never shared it with others, but it could have been something that people were thinking about that back then. I mean, does that mean that it's acceptable? Like even today, I mean, today, should people be worried about such things like that? Well, absolutely not. I mean, that's ridiculous, right? Like I said, I mean, I grew up in a huge community of diversity, worrying about the population of one race over another. That was never a concern that I ever had growing up. That it's never even been a thought that I had. When I read it in the book, I was like, wow. I mean, did people really worry about that back then? Um, I mean, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I know racism existed, yeah, and racism still exists to a different degree today. But I, I feel like I really gained some insight into the past reading that exchange between M and Bond. Now, if that had been edited out, I feel like that would have been a lost opportunity. If something like that is edited out, an opportunity is lost. The opportunity to realize that what was of a concern back then, and now today we can look back and be like, oh, What were people thinking back then? What were they concerned about? Especially matters like that. I mean, the population of one race compared to another. And that, I mean, looking back at that, I mean, that was just ridiculous. That was a ridiculous concern. But these pieces of history, in order for that to be made evident to us, these pieces of history, they need to exist. They can't be edited out. They have to still exist to show us just how silly it was. Yeah. And not to be erased so that they can just keep happening again and again and again, but letting the past exist to show just how dumb some of those past issues were that people had, mentally, of just thinking, oh, this, we can't do this, we shouldn't feel like that. Um, if we erase those thoughts and that, then how can we see them and then realize, wow, that was so ridiculous. I'm so happy that we're smarter than that now. Well, nothing we say is going to change their minds. It's already done. It's been done. Ian Fleming's books have been edited and changed. But we can't encourage people to just find the originals. Read the original copies. Read them as Ian Fleming intended them to be. Find and read those original copies before they truly are burned and permanently gone.
You know, it's we who at this moment are working for man's happiness. Look, isn't that lovely? The pages, like flower petals or butterflies.
I appreciate the time you spent with me, and um, I hope that you enjoyed the content, and you know I know it's kind of a heavier subject, but I mean, a lot of us in the Bond community, we feel pretty strongly, about the work that Ian Fleming put in, and the characters that he created, the stories that he told, and we just would like to see them left as the artist intended for his art to be displayed. And okay, we'll see you guys on the next video, and hope you take care. All right, thanks. Bye.